pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and so special budget hearings will, oh, there's Bev. Bev, Buckmeyer, recorder. Ready, set, go.
Our budget in the recorder's office is pretty much similar to last year's. The only difference is the salaries, and then I added in to the technology for a new computer for the deputy. Hers is, maybe just about 5 years old. And IT advised to probably go to a laptop instead of a desktop. Everything else is pretty much the same as last year. The indexing that we approved last year, I added that in also this year. We have gotten back to 1944 currently. We're hoping to be back into the 1930s by the time the contract's done. We're halfway through the contract right now. The money that was allocated, the 25,000, actually, the money has been coming out of the Enron fund currently for the first 6 months, but I'm not gonna have enough money in that Enron fund from now until the contract is fulfilled.
So that'll be a budget item from here on out. Okay. Well, always a budget item, but, and then,
Yeah, additional for the Enron.
okay,
If you see the contract price would go up a little bit next year due to the fact that we're getting into the handwritten stuff now. So it takes a little bit longer to do it. So we'll go from 60 cents, which is this year, to 75 cents per document next year. If we save the same person.
anything else, Bev?
That is pretty much it for me.
What did you say was gonna be for document?
Next year it would be at 75 cents per document. This year it was 60 cents.
Thank you.
Same amount budgeted, just a
Correct?
little less documents.
Yeah, probably won't get quite as many documents done.
Sure, okay. Oh, yeah, there we go.
It's okay.
A lot of documents.
Yes, we have a little over 100,000 left. Get back to 1882.
Wow. That's impressive. Anything else for Bev? Any other questions? Bev, anything else for us?
No, that's about it.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Ms. Kenner.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for coming in.
You bet. I really don't have a lot to report for Lake Access. The total income is sitting at $73,750. It won't reflect on what you have in your packet, but we do have $10,000 coming in from the city for City of Devils Lake income. That was reflected this year, and I also request for the $2,000 increase this next year as well. And this coming year, I asked for a $2,000 increase from the Devils Lake Park Board as well. So they will reflect that same $10,000 each to bring the total income up a little bit higher than what's reflected. As far as expenses go, nothing really has changed, except I am watching all of the expenses relating to electrical, plumbing, that sort of thing with the fish cleaning stations. That expense seems to go down, or is going down, with the new Barracuda grinders that have been put in place, and Henniger Landing is getting that in place today, actually. New officials here, so there's a little bit of plumbing work left to do there. So pending any special projects there, hoping those expenses go down a little bit. So we're running a net income of a deficit of about $7,000, but again, not too worried about that. I budgeted a little bit high for expenses. So unless anybody has any questions, it's pretty much the same. We do have $1,500 going in here for beach maintenance again at Lakewood. Trying and provide some sort of beach. So,
Any questions for Susie? When you sit on that committee, anything to add?
I guess the only thing that we really talked about was only spending $1,500 on the beach for the size of the lake. I thought that was a little thin, when there's only so much money, there's only so much money as we talked about.
Just goes, when it comes out and then goes down, you can start moving.
Yeah.
Every time that happens.
Yeah.
All right,
Perfect.
I think that might be it.
All right.
So, thank you so much for coming in. Next up, we have Mr. Jager with the emergency management.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So, not a lot of change on mine either. Of course, the salary is different. The updated version, which you guys don't have in front of you, there is a change to my technology. I'm asking for 7,500 because we're getting the request for a new computer, also a vehicle mount for that computer. The only other change other than that, sorry, I hit too far.
I just put my numbers in.
Numerical order
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
chronological.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
And then the other one would be the Emergency Operations Center, having a monitor on the back wall, some HDMI matrices, mount, and hopefully, if I can get a table in there as well. For 35. So just a very slight increase on both, that's all.
75.
Except for the technology, right?
The technology is a little step up due to the laptop, or due to the computer cost.
Telephone is 2,200.
Okay,
And then
DOC.
And then 35.
For the OC.
Okay,
That's it for that. Everything else is the same.
is there enough built in for vehicle maintenance?
I think so. That's on the second 72. I still have that on there. I have that a separate line item, second page.
Okay.
Yep. So in your next order, which would be the next budget. Or sorry, do you guys have any question on that one?
And what percentage of this, Chris, is reimbursed through the state?
Almost 50%.
That's what everybody has to keep in mind, so. Okay,
So what was your first one? I'm trying to follow where your order is, where my order was, sorry.
Risk management.
Risk management, nothing changed there. That was all the same. Next one. Unless there are questions.
36A would be the UAS,
UA
36.
36.
36A.
36 is
First.
Oh, sure. Okay. I must have skipped,
So has chem. Hazardous chemical, the only thing, the change there was to go back to the 2022 training for 60, and I'm asking for 62. If I can get that, we could possibly send a few responders out if the correlates with the tier 2 funding. Just get it back to where it should be.
Send them to Teeks.
That's the tier 2 stuff like TEEX or
Countywide. That's for
County.
everybody to come.
Tier 2 reporting stations are gonna remain the same numbers?
For the most part, some have gotten a little bit better because they're holding more chemical, but some have dropped because they're holding a little less chemical.
Sure.
And this budget reflects of what we spend on our responders, so the tier 2 reporting comes in and then it comes back out to our responders. So that's why there's really any change on that one. Minus the miscellaneous / training. Questions? If not, to the UAS. Just asking for the amount that we kind of discussed earlier. Back when that motion was made in August of 2022. Just to continually fund that operation, we are.
And did we spend that money out of COVID for UAS?
It kind of sitting there.
We transferred it into.
Yeah,
This doesn't show correctly because we started that budget in the middle of a year. So it doesn't show right, but, we have. They've spent like $6,400. They've got about 46,000. And that's donations.
That's after you take the $6,400.
So they received like $2,800 in 2022. And then the 30,000 that we put in from the COVID money. And then because we switched account numbers too. So we just have a big mess, but so like the I shouldn't keep copying this, but the total would be like 44,584.
Currently.
Correct, yeah. That should run a new, have you spent anything out of there this?
okay, we're trying to save for a new one.
That's what I thought, okay. Because this was the old number, this is the new number. Yeah. I'll put together something that explains it a little bit better.
So since the task force uses this, do they
put any money into it?
No, they're, a possibility on if they have money going out that I could potentially apply for some of that money.
I'm just asking for like if there's a grant, you know, if they're using it, some of the money should come back towards that drone also. You know, so that if you're trying to purchase a new one, you're putting in for a grant, some of the money should come for the new one instead of us funding the whole thing. If we could, if it's possible. you know?
Right, most grants don't cover UAS, so that's the tough part. I actually just had that conversation yesterday with our regional guy.
And Drug Task Force grant application for 2024, deadline is July 31st.
Okay.
And who does that? Who does that? Bill,
Travis doing that.
Travis, because we now took over the, we take over?
Oh, yeah.
We took over all of it. Just say that.
So are we asking for 30 on the UAS budget or?
If we could, yep, every year. That's kind of why that statement was put on there.
Well,
To continually fund us.
I'll put together a
okay,
little bit,
so
I'll do a spreadsheet,
we'll do
yeah,
30
so
up
that
there.
it's, we know exactly what's in there. That works.
Did any of that money get used for your salary?
Negative.
Should be though,
Should be for all the guys that are responding.
yeah.
That's kind of why I'm hoping we can make a constant, flow, I guess.
Permanent deal. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking that responsibility on, doing the training. And I don't wanna say volunteering your time, but, well, it's, come in handy. So, provide a lot of assistance to a lot of agencies, so.
Yeah, that's kind of what the ask is for, if we can continually be supported, then we can pay some of the responses going out.
So it's only the county then? Or do you ask anything from the city or?
We have not asked this go around, but they have donated before.
Yeah.
Who's all a part of that UAS team? There's lots from a lot of different walks, rural fire, couple county guys, EMS, PD, have a task force agent trying to get on. Couple military guys, actually one now, so, city fire, rural fire, yeah, it's all walks, I guess.
And funding mechanism is it just county or?
Right now, it's what we have in the bank, and that's it, or in the county fund.
No. Have the city been approached at all about adding this to a budget item or?
That I do not know,
Okay.
I'm assuming no.
Okay.
Maybe that's something that could be,
Through their fire or PD or?
if you want, I can go and approach them, I'm guessing their budget maybe is it not finalized yet,
It's not,
August 7th.
August 7th, okay.
well, I think they have a special on the 2nd. that Wednesday.
I'll see if I get on there.
No. Okay. Any other questions for Chris? Anything else for us, Chris?
No.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Moe,
Hello? Assume IT is first. And yes. With recommended salary and kept everything else the same except lowered the equipment because we should be getting a new server this year yet. We're waiting on the tax package we get and everything else before finalizing all of that, but that should all be taken care of yet this year with our grant and everything else. And I guess part of the, depending on what the server we get, the grant, like, it was originally set for a server and some rewiring in the courthouse, but we may be going mostly towards the server. I guess it's still up in the air, but
and where's the grant coming from?
that is Homeland Security. That was covered, and I guess I should mention that, I don't know if I did before. Originally, it was a 10% match, but the state is covering another 5%, so we're only stuck with 5, the 20 that we asked for. So, any questions for IT? And also, there'll be additional opportunities for grants through that Homeland Security next year again. Now that we've got more time to prepare, should be able to, it's 20% match, but still high likelihood of getting it.
Okay,
And then the GIS budget. Recommended salary, and I did increase 1,000 there for the, I guess, program that just increase and everything else. But we should all be able to be covered in that.
so Steve and I didn't know, but travel to that conference that he attends.
Mhm.
I would assume that comes out of GIS somewhere,
Yeah,
if there's no travel.
yeah. It always comes out of, yeah, it's just like a supplies, miscellaneous, GIS.
No,
So that's where I've been taking it out of.
okay, training,
Could have training or something.
travel slash training or training.
Well, it
slash-
kind of falls under miscellaneous, I mean, he
Wow.
could list what,
Miscellaneous can be
Yeah.
just about anything, but. Since it's pretty consistent that he's been attending.
It's just a justification tool for yourself, you know.
But if that works for you, I'm okay with it. Anything new as far as plotter or still utilizing that at all?
Still being utilized and it's still holding in.
Holding up and able to find supplies for it?
Yeah. And I guess part of the new server project, I'm trying to get, I guess, rid of our GIS server, but I think it can go, we're gonna try to go strictly online. It's been a hybrid for the last 5 years, I guess, and realized that we could probably get by without the added expense of an upgraded server, the maintenance, and all the work that I gotta do to keep that up, and plus the software. And so there might be, the city's been currently paying for the maintenance for that, so we'll have to work something else out. But
Maintenance for,
for the server software, the GIS software,
okay,
basically runs the parcel viewer. So there'll be some likely changes to possibly the web address and things for the parcel viewer. There'll be plenty of notice and forwarding and things.
okay. Anything else for Steve? Anything else for us?
Nope.
Okay. Appreciate you coming in. Thank you. Mr. Singer, Human Resources.
Good afternoon. I have a very simple budget. Everything's the same as last year, obviously, except for the proposed salary. Any questions?
And I should have asked this of Chris and while he was still in the room, but is risk management shared between the two offices?
Pretty much, he handles more or less the grounds, facilities, a lot of that stuff, and I'm more employee safety,
Reporting.
reporting employee injuries, making sure we get the required training done from WSI and Association of Counties, so we get our discounts on our premiums, those types of things.
Know if you're looking at any additional training in the upcoming year or
For myself,
remainder of this year, well, for county employees?
well, yeah, when we get a little closer to the end of the year, a lot of stuff starts rolling out again. It's
Sure.
a lot of it's the mandatory stuff.
Yep.
But, yeah, I throw a little bit of everything else in there, so.
Okay,
I do help, Rhonda with social services, she does,
all right,
we've got some supervisor stuff. And a lot of it's just me setting it up, you can find a lot of free resources out there.
Yep.
It's NERF or the Association of Counties or whatever, so WSI, so.
okay. Anything else for Brian? Brian, anything else for us?
No, other than, I guess I've been plucking away at payroll since Nathan left, and it was a tough transition, I would have to say, but I think I've gotten pretty efficient at it, and everybody's been getting paid.
It must have worked because the screams would have been loud.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're still working on that, but I've gotten, like I said, a lot more efficient at working at it. So probably the biggest disadvantage is, when you're trying to plan a family vacation, everything's gotta be planned around that time period, where
Yeah.
payroll's done, and then we have that second supplemental payroll, so, it kind
So
of takes out
they don't make you have a backup, like as far as the state,
as far as payroll.
nobody, so could you do the paper payment? I'm just,
And
one day you're not here and you
yeah.
gotta go do it.
Well, I know what happened.
I mean,
Easy
easy
when
when
you creeps up on you. And I'm not sure what Ken's thoughts are, but I mean, if it's sitting down with Leslie or something, and we can, I'm not sure, but, it's a very manual process, so, I mean,
You just definitely have to go back. That's my opinion.
Cross training. Candy's looking at us like we're crazy. One more
You have no
thing.
idea.
Who was Nathan?
Was the Leslie's.
Oh,
former deputy. Yeah.
he did the payroll before he left.
I'm just looking at if he was gone and,
Could be me.
right, so I'm just, we need to look at it.
Well-
So it's not just all we.
Those essentially critical positions that,
Let's just leave it the way it is until we decide for a new program.
Right, I think,
Well-
Don't
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
teach the,
right,
yeah, don't teach the old complicated.
So you're fine with it being like it is until we get something different? Yeah, because we are getting something different.
we don't have a choice.
Yes,
and the system we've been looking at is a little more streamlined for payroll, but if we don't go with the whole timekeeping system that they have as part of their package, which we don't need to, it'll still be kind of a real spreadsheet manual process, because that's how you put the information into payroll. But those will be things we'll look at as we talk to that group a little bit more. Everything comes with a cost. Resource.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just, there's, yeah, we won't teach her that.
well, as long as you're comfortable if, God forbid, Brian drops dead tonight.
God forbid.
Well,
Well, it's just not only that, they break his leg or.
Well, straight,
Oh,
yeah,
no, I'd take everything to him.
Yeah. You're fine.
straight.
What, you're going on vacation where?
No, it's a good answer. It's an essential part of the doing business.
Okay,
We'll just, because the newer version is, yeah.
Okay.
10 less steps and,
well, as long as you're comfortable with the way it's working now, that not teaching it to somebody new.
and if something happened to him, something happened to me, there's a big binder with screenshots and notes. I mean, we've, yeah.
That's not gonna happen, so.
Right.
And neither one of you.
Yes, stay separate.
Yeah,
Neither one of you have the approval to go anywhere, so. All right. I have nothing else, Brian. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Thank you.
Yep.
Roger. Thank you for coming in.
Start off at the top, with the, cost of living and whatnot. 63,425. Let's
assistant, 44,799. Part-time, well, full-time, but part-time here, 4560, and I'm assuming the LEC will pick up half of that. Overtime, leave it 1,000, travel 100, electricity, bump that up to 26,000. Electricity memorial building, electricity courthouse, bump that up to 45, bump it up 1,000. Steam heat will go up to 50,000. Utilities remain at 8. Utilities memorial building remain at 5. Telephone, I don't know, from the amounts we've been using, we should be able to drop that at least a couple thousand. Maintenance at the courthouse, go to 37.5. Maintenance contracts remain the same. Capital outlay remain the same. So 378, 884. Questions?
Any questions of Roger on his budget for buildings and grounds? Let's see, 18B is that weed?
Weed board?
No, that's county building.
Oh,
We just
yeah.
had a discussion like at,
Half hour ago.
yeah.
Okay.
about that.
And what was that?
You sure they can be?
There is no 18B in there.
No,
I'm still looking at the,
No, in your book,
yeah, there is.
right.
because I haven't put it in there yet.
Oh.
Because we just had a discussion like
An hour ago.
not even an hour
Yeah,
ago
probably
of
not.
what dollar amount, because
18B is.
county building improvements.
You guys need me for anything, I just figured it top of my head.
Appreciate the letter.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you guys think that's good, I'll list it off, so.
Well, we haven't discussed it yet, so.
We'll let you know. Jeff will let you know.
Don't call us, we'll call you.
But we'll let you know.
Have a good night.
Yep, thanks, Paul.
County building improvements, Roger uses that budget to, what do we use it for?
Different projects, decide to do around the building. I'm still thinking about replacing, the fluorescent lights with LED. And that could still come out of this year's county law, or building improvement. So for next year, don't have anything right off the top of my head. I'm still working on trying to get the events clean. We're going to Bismarck Thursday and Friday, and I'm gonna look up that place. I've called him several times and never get an answer. I'm gonna find out where he is and see if I can catch him at the office. So,
So LEDs are in this year's budget,
yes.
and how much was that again?
I haven't even gotten an amount. I was just thinking about we'll do like an office. I was just talking to Tony, Bill Lake Electric, about just getting a box of them and just doing an office and see how they are for brightness and whatnot. And they're supposed to be just as bright or brighter, considerably less electricity.
Right.
So, and we could do a couple floors, I'm sure, and then maybe just with surplus bulbs, just leave the third floor, or I doubt we'll ever be able to sell used light bulbs.
Right.
So we could just keep some for, or maybe do the 3 floors and leave the basement and the armory for the spare bulbs. But anyway, still replacing them. So, and
few years ago and they were pretty satisfied with it.
Yeah,
It's a big difference.
Or,
It's a big difference. We did our facility and it's huge.
Yeah.
The lighting and the cost. I mean, it's cost to put it in, but it saves the cost too.
right,
So,
okay,
anyway. So go on to weed board. Board salaries will go to 14 from 13. Fixed charges remain at 4,500. Travel remain at 1,200. Equipment will go to 6,000 from 5. Utilities, should be able to drop that down from 15 to 1,200. Supplies remain at 7. Labor go from 53 to 56.5. Chemicals from almost 54 to 56,312 for 146,712. That would be 3 mills. And like always, we don't have to have the full 3 mills. I have a carryover every year. So it'd be like probably 2 1/4 that we'll be actually asking for. So. And that'll still leave me some money. I can pick up some chemical this year yet for next year. Actually, I'm figuring on probably $20,000 worth of chemical I can pick up this year yet for next year. So,
I'm assuming that you store that in a heated,
pardon?
you store that in a heated area in the winter?
Yes.
Okay,
People,
yep, water,
So,
okay,
called Martin Mechanical last week, asking them how we were coming on getting our estimates for the generator. And, Justin informs me that we still have paperwork to do. And the last time he was here, I was pretty certain, he told us it was all done and he was gonna start getting bids. But anyway, so you have, I should have a copy here. The dates of, like August 2014, those are just like a filler. And that they took that from when we were doing the elevator. So we just need to throw in our own dates of when we want the bidding to start and when we want to cease receiving bids and when we will open them, which is all towards the back. And Bo looked this over, and I guess the only comment he had was also he was confused about the dates of 2014. Like I said, that's what I called Martin Mechanical, and that's what they had said. They just took it off of our elevator. So I guess you guys need to decide when we want to like have a cease allowing for bids and when they'll be opened and all that good stuff. So,
well, darn it. Kind of disappointing that this, but I suppose by doing it, having a beginning date, ending date, opening date, that
kind of thought that's what we did.
I kind of thought so too, but we all know what assumption is.
So how long to get this filled out, Roger?
how long do you want?
How long to get this all done and back from, to get kind of the idea, like if we get this in, what do you, think as far as timeframe?
If you have, say, a couple of months, they allow, or if even that long, that's probably too long to allow for somebody to put it up bid. If they're gonna be interested, they'll probably do it fairly quickly. Give it a month's time, I'm not so cheap yet.
Could we have the opening, at our first September meeting? Would that be long enough, 30 days?
I also push the 30 days because if we set money aside for that, we would have that time to get it.
Yeah.
Otherwise we could run into trouble on that.
So what portion of this do we have to fill out? That portion, the agreement form?
What's that?
The agreement form, is that what we gotta fill out, or we just gotta pick some dates?
Well, you gotta pick some dates. I guess that'd be the main thing. And when you wanna start, having to start and end. So I still haven't found that darn sheet exactly.
I thought we did this. Oh, we did.
We didn't do the agreement form and this. This is the agreement form of contract, is this what the?
So this says that this is for the contractor who would actually be doing the work.
We just give him the dates and then he puts it together. That's what you're tracking, Roger? We give him the dates, he puts it together and then it gets bid, or
Mm-hmm.
we just give him dates? I kinda agree with you, Jeff, just good so that it's done through that. Push it along a little bit.
Then however long, once we, fax or whatever this back to Martin Mechanical, hopefully they can get it out quickly. So we can get some estimates. He did say that, they kind of have had hard time, people aren't that hungry for work, so when they, do put in an estimate, it's usually fairly high.
Well, looking through here, just glancing, so proposed form, general mechanical and electrical, Ramsey County Courthouse, generator replacement. And gentlemen, we, blah, 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 blah. Ramsey County Courthouse generator replacement, Devils Lake, North Dakota, dated May 2014, as prepared by Martin Mechanical Design. I would assume that that's a wrong date.
Yeah, it follows this.
So maybe we should take a week to look through this and make sure that there is nothing else that, and then get it back, approve it on the 1st of August, and come up with some dates instead of looking over it
Quickly and
quickly and more mistakes can be made.
that way, if you guys have any questions, Bo might be able to answer them for you.
Yeah.
But he's already looked at this one, sir.
Pardon?
He's already looked at this.
He has already looked at it. Like I said, other than dates where it said August of 2014, he was okay with everything else. So,
Just gonna do it.
Okay, well, and maybe if that's the only question that was addressed, that's an easy fix. And I'm sure it's one of those forms that they use consistently with soliciting bidders for other projects, so. If everybody's okay with accepting it with, as long as the dates change, or do we want some time to look it over?
Is this summertime work or is it, they could do it anytime?
Should be able to do it at any time. I'm sure they'd probably prefer it to be summertime work, but. And then even once they find a contractor, how busy is that contractor, you know?
Well, you know, with the completion date of August 1, obviously that's not happening.
No,
So,
not happening. You know, we could probably almost have to say, if we can get it completed this year, we might be a more realistic thing,
you know, January 1,
you know?
completion date. You know, if that's something that somebody can get done in that amount of time. Wishes of the board? Want to go ahead and approve sending this out with the opening date on the first meeting in September, which again was 5th of September. That provides them enough time, I'd be okay with that. I think get this thing moving.
Looking for a motion, Jeff?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we have this out by the 5th of September. What kind of date do we want to have?
well, we want to approve this today, go ahead and sign off on this with the opening date, and I think that's what they're looking at, an opening date and a completion date. So opening date of the 5th of September with a completion date of January 1, 2024.
I'll make that motion, 5th of September, with the closing date of January 1st of 2024.
And,
That way if they need an extension,
Yeah.
still not within a year.
yeah, we could be, you know, we would accept.
Is the money that we set aside has to be spent by the end of 2024? Yeah, so
Allocated
Spend.
by 26. The project has to be completed by 26.
so we have some time, but we just don't want to drag our feet, and then, even if we have to put the finish date to the summer, you know, that's all they can do. See what
the contractor recommends as far as Martin Mechanical, but I'd like to get this bid or this specs sent out and so bidders can bid on it. And, you know, if they felt that the 5th was too soon, then the next date would be the 19th of September. So can we give them that flexibility of having that within our motion? Having the, approve everything as is with preferable opening date on the 5th,
Opening of bids
opening of bids.
on the
On the
5th of
5th.
September.
And if Martin Mechanical feels that that's too soon, then we would go to the 19th.
Okay, I can call him tomorrow and see what he has to say.
Yeah,
And
So-
then if it has to come back at the August
first meeting.
meeting,
We can adjust things formally at the August 1st meeting if they feel that further delays or adjustments need to be made. So, Blaine, Commissioner Volk, you okay with amending your
Yep, I'll
original
amend
motion?
my motion, 5th for the first date, 19th for the second date, and the 1st of January for finish date.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Bid opening on the 5th, unless Martin Mechanical recommends the 19th as a secondary date. Completion by January 1, 2024. If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Anything else, Roger?
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Star?
I think I forgot to send you the pretty card copy, so again, but I brought copies with me today. So.
Thank you.
So we reviewed the budget at our meeting, was it last week?
Yeah, last
Last
Wednesday,
Wednesday?
the 20th.
And I got, so one of the things that we changed was we took out the $120,000 generator because Jim thinks that he can have it maintenance properly to get it working properly for $30,000. So it went from 120 to 30,000 on the LEC side. The 911 budget didn't change, and the reentry center budget didn't change. I think that was the biggest thing that changed. And then we left in the 4% cost of living and the possibility of a step increase merit based. But I don't think that anything else was taken out.
So the Ramsey County portion of, it dropped what, a little over 2%?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that we changed is we did boards of $90. So the boarding fee will go up $90.
You should have got that, I forwarded you that email.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one,
That's this one.
yeah.
I just don't.
You don't have
You
that.
want pretty copies?
If you have an extra one,
I'll give you some.
okay.
Hold on. Where are you seeing?
I got 2 copies of this one.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I found mine.
Is that yours?
Okay.
I know it's been told, but the boarding fee, who pays for that?
The county that's holding the prisoner. So it's per day per prisoner.
And the prisoner has no portion of that?
Negative. Not unless they're in the reentry center. Then they pay a portion.
So our incarceration costs projected is $1.2 million. LEC board share, the joint powers agreement, is $1,040,000.
And just so you're all aware, the reentry center is in it's almost in a $500,000 deficit for the year, for next year, so we are looking at options for that. We're in a rush to find options for that, actually.
It's one of the things that the board talked about at our meeting last week, was trying to increase the capacity there as far as beds from other entities, so we can make that cash flow. And because just about a $500,000 deficit isn't a viable option for all the entities that participate in that. So we're looking at viable options. You hate to say, oh, you know, fix it or close it kind of thing. That's 10 jobs that would be on the line. The other idea was to eliminate female personnel or inmates out of there. And so that way, you know, maybe easier to hire male employees, because if you have female inmates or residents, then you have to have female staff on call or on duty. And then, you know, I think it's running about half full.
Right.
Yeah. So we get a lot of Federal Bureau of Prisons people in that facility. We denied to renew the state's contract in that facility because the state was unwilling to come up on their boarding fees. So
And they were the lowest paying.
they were the lowest of anybody out there that was paying that. Part of the problem with Federal Bureau of Prisons is they don't always pay on time. And so we're constantly hounding them for reimbursement, and they're usually 2 to 6 months in arrears. And so, and then their fiscal year ends and begins at different times than what our calendar year does. So, but as you can see, everybody's got an increase, all the 5 entities that are part of the LEC. But, you know, we occupy the most inmates, I guess, incarcerations. So obviously our budget or our numbers are gonna be bigger than everybody else's. But I think we heard last week from Sheriff Lang that the number of arrests and drug arrests have increased. And so it's reflective in our numbers in incarceration. But if you look at it going back to 2021, a 3-year difference between the two, $1 million difference. It's big numbers. Well, one thing we can do is go ahead with the LEC board, signed off on this. Oh, well, we indicated to start to come back to the county, the city, and, with some new numbers. And we're a little lower than our 17% increase that we had initially, which is good. But trying to get around the incarceration costs and the cost of holding inmates at our facility has steadily gone up. So, and the good thing is, I guess, we can approve budget looking like this, and then if there's ways to whittle it down between now and October, September, October, when we finalize, then that's something we can do.
Did the Ramsey Center get any bites, or hasn't she reached out to Fargo?
You know, I've seen a lot of her getting in new, residents. As of the last week or so, there's been a constant, every day she's getting somebody new. So I'm not sure, and I know that we have a meeting set with the judges in the state's attorney tomorrow, I believe, tomorrow afternoon, so hopefully we'll be able to make some progress there.
Motion to approve this if she goes back to the city board or what?
Well, we can, I don't know if we're making any motions today to approve anything or no.
No, it would be at the August 1st.
But we'll accept it as a preliminary budget and give our final approval next Tuesday at our regular meeting. So in between now and then, if there's any major changes that we want to make we have between August 1st and final approval date to whittle things down, and that's why we always recommend start on the high side, let's bring things back as we move down between August and September. And, you see, go through these things with a fine tooth comb and see what can be either eliminated, reduced. But boy, you hate to cut things down too far, and then all of a sudden you have an entity that doesn't operate correctly, and it's a facility that our community desperately needs. So.
If you see something in there, this is my first year doing budgets, so if you see something that looks odd, or please ask. Because I've been looking at these numbers for months now, and they're starting to become like,
Makes your eyeballs go a little crazy.
oh yeah. I have so many different saved budgets that,
Yeah.
So why is copier lease
so
in there
copiers,
twice?
it's not really, I'm just trying to keep track of all the annuals over here.
Oh,
And then they go somewhere in here.
okay.
Does that make sense? It's not quite. Okay.
So what's in the annual recurring comes over here and,
Yes, it's in one of these other subsections.
Now I get it. Oh, makes sense. 'cause when I was looking at it, I'm like, well, if it's a copier lease, I'm like, well, what kind of improvements?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Other than just getting a different copier and
Right,
continuing the lease, kind of
right.
like what we do.
No. So. I know I had to double check that
Yeah.
myself, and I should
Yeah.
have told you once I figured it out, but.
Now that you explain it like that, yeah.
Do we have anything else for Star? Blaine, part of that LEC board, Lee was there, sat through that meeting. And
Reentry center gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to make a decision.
can't operate
We
at a
can't lose
loss,
that, we can't lose $500,000 every year.
you know.
I mean, it's gonna be a really tough decision, but hopefully in 3 months here before we get to it.
And it wasn't too long ago that was flush.
Right.
We were borrowing money from that at the end of the year to meet payroll at the LEC. So.
I don't know what happened there. Hopefully it gets worked out.
Yeah,
We had that discussion then.
so,
We probably let it go a little bit too far before we should have been looking.
well, I don't know if it's ever gotten that sideways but if we can't keep those numbers up or find a way to keep those numbers consistent.
That's what I mean. It's-
Yeah. So, no, we're on the same page, so. Anything else? Lee, Blaine, Commissioner Hortis, Commissioner Wilhelmie? If not, appreciate your time, Star.
Thanks.
Thanks for whittling away. Mr. Cruz? How are you, sir?
Tired.
Yeah,
So I hope you all have a copy of the budget that we're proposing. There's really not a whole lot changed. The biggest thing we're getting hit with, of course, is salaries for employees is up substantially. The city did I think a 5% cost of living increase. And then there's step increases, that all adds up. The city did also up their lot fees from $40,000 a year to $50,000 for where the city shop is out there and whatnot. And I guess the big thing here is a few years ago when John returned 1 mil to the county for whatever reason he had, I don't know. But over the last 3 years, we've been trying to get that back, and this being the 4th year, we're hoping that we're going to the full 4 mils from the county that we've been seeking. So with that 4 mils and the mill value, that increased the county's contribution to the airport, we figure roughly to $195,000. When you look at the bottom line, we're still looking at a deficit, which thankfully, with our CARES operations and maintenance money we've been getting from the CARES Act, we've been reimbursed about $1.1 million so far in our operations and maintenance expenses, which we, for future use, plan on leveraging against our budget deficits and other projects if we can leverage it there with FAA matching funds, that type of thing. So if anybody has any questions on the budget, like I said, we're looking at a $42,000 deficit this year, but hopefully we can trim some expenses somewhere and keep it where we need to be. And anybody have any questions on it or see anything unusual?
so I get to be a part of the airport authority board, and 4 years ago, when the airport was looking at these increases, and we asked if they could be willing to take 25%, for every year for 4 years, and did increase it to the 404 mills instead of jumping up all at once, kind of thing. And that's something that they're willing to do. So as Scott mentioned, that this is the 4th year, or 2024 will be the 4th year, and did bring them up to the full 4 mills that the airport is allowed under century code from the county. And these mills are split between rural and city mills. So a rural mill was valued at somewhere in that 48, I can't
It's
remember,
49,000.
49,000. Yep. 48,904.23 to be exact. So, fortunately, when there's shortfalls, Scott doesn't come to us for assistance. The city's been willing to pick up those deficits or the lapse between projects being done and reimbursement from CARES being completed. So the city's been good about that. And you can see all the various different revenue sources that the airport has besides the general and from the city and the Ramsey County collections.
And they are kind of a limited, resource for funding. Hopefully we'll increase them a little bit with our new expanded terminal and whatnot, but our expenses will also increase with that same square footage being larger.
We're really hoping for increased boarding numbers, and I think this past month set a all-time record for boardings.
Yeah.
Almost 800.
June was about 200 higher boardings than our highest record in the past. So the last 3 months actually have been record boardings for some by not so many numbers, but yet a record. So it's real encouraging where things have been going to now.
And that's even with the ongoing construction and a little bit of a mess in the terminal, but people don't seem to be minding and enjoy flying out, and we're very happy with the progress of the facility and looking forward to the completion next spring sometime.
April, it has to be done by the end of April next year.
End of April, so.
Just a little more information for you guys. As I mentioned before, with our O&M reimbursement from the CARES Act, we were allowed $1.352 million that we could spend over the course of 4 years and be reimbursed from the FAA through CARES. And we have to date a little over 1.1 million we've received back. And I just submitted another $200,000 outlay the other day, which will leave us with about $50,000 to recoup yet. But that'll go a long ways in our budget deficits over the course of the next few years, which is really nice to have that cushion. Right now, we're spending it on terminal construction, investing in that, before we get reimbursed from the FAA, there's always a delay in that. So that's kind of where that money's going right now. The terminal construction project is coming along real good. I was in there just today, and they've got just about the whole inside sheetrock and actually started taping and letting that all up. So that's pretty much on track for, completion is scheduled. All the interior, the insulation and sheetrocking is pretty much complete. The only real issues we're having, the contractor does have a few supply chain issues here and there, but coming along real well. we put in an application in the fiscal year 2022 airport improvement program that's called supplementary discretionary funds. And last year, the FAA received 453 applications for this money, totaling $2.4 billion in requests. And we decided last year, after talking with my consultants and whatnot, I said, well, do they fund equipment? And he said, well, they do, but it's such a low priority, you probably won't get anything. And I said, I'll guarantee you 100% we won't get it if we don't apply. So we put in an application and we're successful in a little over $500,000 to get a new loader for the airport, which was really good news. Our essential air service, still no word from DOT. They still haven't approved or disapproved the SkyWest charter application. So currently we're running basically month by month with our EAS. As long as the DOT keeps holding them in, they will keep coming. But who knows how long this will go. We're really not very happy that something hasn't been done with it, at this point. So we also have the second airline company that put in for our EAS contract is now kind of chomping at the bit. They want, something done, either give us the contract or, whatever. So we don't know what's going on there yet. I just got word this morning, there was an FAA reauthorization bill out. It was called HR 3935. And what they were trying to do, I think it was 62 and 74 or something, part of that bill. They were actually trying to do away with EAS. And then if not, they were looking at decreasing the subsidy cap from $1,000 per passenger to $500, which probably would have put us out of business. Not sure. And then they had a cost sharing where they were going to start requiring a 5% local match for EAS contracts. Both two of those amendments as part of that bill were shut down. So everything is going good there. So we're not in danger of that anymore. But, so everything is, business as usual, I guess. Keep going, busy.
Do you plan on attending Representative Armstrong's meeting next?
No, I can't. I have
Okay.
an appointment already. I'm trying to get Dennis to go up and attend it and see if he can get in there. Or, are you going?
I plan on going,
Okay,
whether or not Renard's going.
yeah, it's something we were.
I know Mayor Mo's going,
Mhm.
so,
Well, I'd really like to see someone from the airport there. Unfortunately,
yeah,
I had these appointments already.
yeah, so. We'll be there, and I know that's one of the things on the representative's agenda, so is,
EAS, I'm sure, is going to be on his
Yep.
docket, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Anything else, Scott?
I don't have anything. They got any questions? Or?
If you haven't had an opportunity to go on the new website, would encourage it. It is Devil's Lake.
Airport.com.
And if you're at all interested in who's flying where, they got a flight radar tab on there that you can click on that and see what plane's above you and where it's going and where it took off from and how long it's been in the air. And then, since it's derived from Devil's Lake Airport, it'll highlight the planes leaving from Devil's Lake or coming in, a different color, so. And then, if you happen to pick out a plane in the sky, it'll tell you what type of plane it is. And you can click on another link and it'll take you to how many of those planes are actually flying throughout the world.
It's crazy to see how many planes are on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really a cool tool and provides some great information for those coming and going into Devil's Lake. And,
Yeah, it's quite an improvement, I think, over our last one.
yeah, great looking website, love it. So, yeah. Don't know if that's the interest or increase in passengers or boardings, but, you know, something seems to be working, and we really appreciate the higher numbers and.
I was talking with the advertisers this afternoon, and I told her, I said, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm advertising with you or what's done it. I said, but our boardings have increased and I'm very happy, so.
No,
I'm glad to see that the local people are starting to use the plane and, you know, it's the old adage, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So, it really means a lot to keep the airport open for us to fly out of here locally.
we're gonna fight like hell to maintain that service out of here
Mhm.
when, we finally hear what DOT is gonna accept for EAS. You know, if they accept the charter, which, and you give guys a little background, it gives, SkyWest the opportunity to maybe, I don't know, downsize their passenger numbers in order to have, different flight requirements. But it would go not only from Devils Lake to Denver back and forth, but they'd also add in possibly Minneapolis and or Chicago.
Yeah, we have an opportunity to, we'll have 12 round trip flights with this going. And the only downside is if we do go into Minneapolis or Chicago, that's one flight to Denver we would lose.
Right.
So the debate is open as to whether we really could use an eastern market in North Dakota, I mean, here in Devils Lake. I think the potential is out there to grow what we have. But at the same time, we start pulling from a very well-established route that we have.
Yeah.
And that may hurt us, you know, so the jury's out, we don't know for sure what we wanna do yet, but it's available.
Love it currently the way it is.
Yeah.
The other EAS proposal was a company that would just fly to Minneapolis.
Minneapolis only, yeah.
Yeah.
And on a turboprop aircraft versus a jet, so we're just really bucking that so that we hopefully don't end up with it, you know. I mean, it would be better than nothing, of course, but,
No.
what we have right now is amazing for Devils Lake, it really is.
Yep. So appreciate you coming in, Scott.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's pretty cool when you ride by and see the busyness.
Yeah, yeah, and I went in, I was off last week and I came into the airport on Monday and I looked in the parking lot and there's not enough cars in there. So I went and talked to Carrie, I says, what's going on? Are you not been busy? She goes, no, we've been busy, so I don't know. Hopefully we're staying up there. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. So letter to DOT. So this letter would go to those on the back, including the engineer consulting project manager for civil science engineers out of Williston who did public comments. One of the concerns going forward was the turn lanes that were included in the project were taken out of the project when the J-turns went away. So, and that was a misunderstanding when
That's not a final.
representatives were in Bismarck and this whole thing got
I hope we're not.
So were the turning lanes part of the J turn then or no?
Some of them,
Some of them, right?
yeah,
Thank you.
but mostly, it was mostly J turns that were in there and some improvements on the turn lanes. So when that went away and just gonna do a resurfacing project, doesn't improve the safety concerns that the township has, the county has, the people utilizing that stretch of road have. So, talking with Representative Johnson and the township, it was recommended that we ask for the willing to meet with the district engineer, highlight those turns, identify the turns, and that we'd either like expanded the existing turn lanes or turn lanes that don't exist currently added in to the project, because it makes absolutely no sense to do a mill and overlay without including those in that project. They weren't included in this project scope of work. The director thought maybe there would be some emergency funds available, but whether it gets done in 24 or delayed to 25, at least you wouldn't be doing one without doing the turns. So, I think we continue to push forward and advocate for the citizens out there and what would be in the best use for that stretch of road for the people that are using it day in, day out. And if we can help identify some of those, and what they indicated has to happen with turn lanes is because you're putting dirt into ditches that could potentially block water drainage or fill water that's a wetland currently. They have to take those into engineering specifications, do an environmental study on it, and all that kind of stuff. So whether that can happen with this project scope of work or not, but I think it would.
Well, they must have had some studies done already because they had some in there, now they took them all.
So, and hopefully it wouldn't be a major delay. Hopefully there'd be money within their emergency funds available at DOT to include it in next summer's project. But,
I'll make a motion that we send the letter as is,
right,
and I move to Saturday.
all right. Anybody else that you can think of that we should include copies to? We've been asked to include the letter that we've received from South Minnewacan Township with this, so it's addressed. Their letters included with the letter to Mr. Maples and the other people on the backside of this. Wondering if we shouldn't carbon copy maybe the South Minnewacan Township board on this as well. And do we want to do that electronically, or do we want to do it electronically plus a potential hard copy certified mail so we know that it's been received?
I guess myself, I'd like to see both.
Both,
I agree.
okay? Mr. Maples did indicate that they had seen all the letters that we had sent initially, had all the public comments from the other meetings. So,
So when they did the study, they didn't come up with any safety issues?
well, they did. Yep, and
Okay, so I
they,
mean, this isn't just,
yeah, and so they thought the safety issues were being addressed through the J turns.
I got it.
Yeah,
But I was asking if it's just local safety concerns, or when they did the study on the project, they actually came up with some of their
Well, they went through and studied all the reported accidents out there, how many fatalities they had, and I'll have to get that booklet, Bo had borrowed that, for writing the letter, but, I had a copy of it that they handed out at one of their public meetings that they had, describing the J-turn project, and they identified all the issues they indicate that the T-bone crash is one of the most devastating crashes that can happen, and they identified all the different potential impact sites along that stretch of road. And then they did the J-turns and how many of those potential impact sites would be reduced because of that. And that's how they were trying to sell the J-turn project. And so the safety concerns have been identified through the initial J-turn RCI project. So they're aware of those concerns that exist. Why they came up with a project that just did a mill and overlay and didn't address the concerns that were identified and through that study. Don't know.
Today I went east and my first near miss was the left-hand turn going east, going into Ackerman Acres.
Yeah.
The guy, he thought he was gonna pass, come over and got in front of me, and from here to the building over there, he was trying to turn. And where do I go?
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's nobody beside me. And the second one happened on that same trip at the bean plant.
Yeah. So, it's a dangerous stretch of road, because there's no left-hand turn lanes out there. And so when you have those bigger piece of equipment, whether it be a semi slowing down to turn at the bean plant or one coming off, their rear end's gonna be sticking on the driving lanes of the highway. And if somebody's not paying attention, or you have two vehicles going side by side and one's not paying attention, it can really spell disaster. And it happened, has happened over the past 10 years out there. And we're only seeing more and more development progress that direction. And I think that'll continue. So we need to do whatever we can to make that a safer stretch of road and work with DOT. And so if getting District Engineer Wyatt Hanson in here with, and maybe a couple commissioners, maybe Blaine and yourself being on the highway as your portfolio roads. Maybe Kevin Fieldson, if he'd be willing to sit in on that, and maybe the township supervisors sit down and identify the crossings and what we can help with and what they'd like from us. And Mr. Hankey, the director, indicated that he'd be willing to direct that process to move forward. So we got a motion and a second to go ahead and send the letter as is.
Can I rescind it and add the township, the two guys there, I think it's Tom and.
No, it's Al Gangle, Ty Ackerman, and Kevin Frith are the township supervisors out there.
I'd like to add those and then have the same motion, just those guys added if we could.
Okay. And sent both electronically and
Yes.
hard copy through the mail?
Correct.
Certified copies or just regular mail?
I certify it.
Okay,
And I would second that revised motion.
all right. We have a motion and a second to go ahead and adopt the letter as is. Go ahead and add the carbon copies to the township supervisors in South Minnewacan Township and electronically send this along with South Minnewacan's letter. you know, that's already been assumed and, certified copy to all recipients as well. Further discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and approve it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Good job, everyone. Hopefully, we see some progress on this and it'll be positive from here on out. So with that, I have nothing else. Special meeting, so nothing else can be included or discussed. Our next regular meeting is 8 AM, August 1st. And we'll continue with crunching numbers at that particular time. I want to thank Candy for all her hard work. Greatly appreciated. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
That's my